Welcome to another episode of Jasmine's First Impression Sports Talk, where we talk all things sports. We have a very lengthy show for you guys because there's a lot that we have to talk about: dysfunction, lightning, everything. So let's get started.
Welcome to Jasmine Pollock's First Impression Sports Talk, the fastest growing sports talk show in the country. And now, here's your host, Jasmine Pollock.
Welcome back to Jasmine's First Impression Sports Talk. And the first segment that we're going to talk about is the dysfunction that has came out in pro sports lately. So we're going to talk, me and Jeremiah, I have Jeremiah with me tonight. We're going to talk briefly about Anthony Davis, and then we're going to get into Washington football or Washington Commanders now. So Jeremiah, let's bring you in. Jeremiah, let's start it off. What was your thoughts about Anthony Davis saying, "Oh, I haven't touched a basketball since blah 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 blah"? Like, what was your thoughts?
Well, that's just like a surgeon saying, I haven't diagnosed on a body. That's just like a teacher saying, I picked up a book. That's just like so many different things that's going on. This is your bread and butter. If you're not touching a basketball, if you're not in the weight room, what are you doing? I know that, there's only one place that you are doing, and that's either being on the couch or just doing everything else except your job. What do you get paid this big money and this big amount of cash for? What did they trade you and bring you in for? It's all about having that battery in your back. You just have one championship. What's the next level that you want to go to? Is it going to motivate you? Like, what is your mindset right now?
I'm going to be honest. When he won that championship, I think that was the ceiling for him. We've questioned Anthony Davis for so many years, saying, okay, can he get to the next level? And we finally see him get to the level with LeBron. And then after that, just took a pitfall. His percentage went down drastically. Of course, he didn't play 40 games at all this past season. And being that you weren't playing basketball pretty much the majority of the whole season, now you're saying I haven't played basketball since April. Like, that is ridiculous. And for me, you have a lot of skilled players like himself. We just don't see so much potential.
Yes.
David, if you had the mind and the motor, like LeBron, like Curry, like those guys who show up to play basketball, Anthony is probably top 3 player because of just his ability, his length, his jumper, his ability to block in different positions. It's really disappointing to see him like this. So I don't know what's going to happen in the future with him. I don't know how LeBron is going to handle all of this, especially what LeBron's trying to accomplish in his years. Time. I don't know what to say about Anthony Davis. I'm really disappointed in him.
Yeah. Because we gave him, was it like a pass when it came to everything from before? You already know when it came to this last year. They had the troubles with Westbrook, they had the troubles with everything, but LeBron was depending on AD to come back, especially when it comes to that Lakers organization. They made this thing, to where they put it in his hands, to where they're trying to go forward within him, but at the same time, he just doesn't want it. It's just like he just like, oh, I take a back seat. But no, you have to be the leader for the team. You have to be the person that they said, you are the person right now. Go and take charge. Get us to the playoffs and get us to the championship. LeBron's going to be there, but he can't be doing what he did in 2018, what he did when he was with sometimes the Miami Heat or in his younger years. This guy is getting much older, and he is almost close to retirement in a couple of years. And I feel like he needs to kind of bring that mentality that LeBron has. Build yourself up and then do everything,
I'm back. Let's talk about the dysfunctional organization in the Washington Commanders. So the hottest topic right now is obviously the Jack Del Rio situation and his comments about the dust up of the January 6th, you could call attack or event that happened at the
Right,
Capitol.
protest. Yeah.
But I want to know Jeremiah. He got fined $100,000, and I consider it a slap on the wrist. But I want to know your thoughts. Should he have to let go with saying comments like that, being wrong about it? It's not apologized.
To me, it's not really all justifiable because you're trying to compare one worst thing to another worst thing. They're all worst things in like all put together. They're not equal. They're not separate. They're their own thing, and you trying to compare them is equally bad because you're talking about, why are we talking about the lynching and everything else when we should be talking about the vandalism and everything else, and then you talk about the protesting and stuff. But at the same time, you work for a whole organization that is like the population of them is mostly black, and you're representing a lot of them, and when you go and see them every day, and plus you got these tweets on everything else, what are you really telling yourself? What are you really telling the people that you see every day that are colored, that are minority and everything else? You're giving them a wrong message. You getting on these tweets and everything else and then want to delete them, but this is really how you feel.
I agree. And when you think about where the league is headed, and shedding light on racial inequality, shedding light on a lot of different issues that we have in this country, and it wouldn't look right on the NFL to keep someone like this who's so strong in his opinions. And being that you said, like we said, the majority of the league, 70% of them are African American players, but not an NFL owner. That's another conversation for another day. But black NFL owner. But like, if he gets fined, and he's getting fined 100,000, and you do things like that, what message are you sending to your players? What messages are you telling them? Okay, we'll find him. We'll still have her. No, his feelings are going to change. His feelings are going to stay the same. And like you said, the tweet.
Yes, I totally agree because when it comes to
and now all of a sudden
yeah, I totally agree because when it comes to, what it like, just like what you just said, what message are you really sending? Because at the end of the day, it's just like, oh, they can say anything, but nothing's gonna really happen to you. It's like protecting your own. And they already have a bunch of issues that's going on within their organization. It's more talked about what's going off the field and around their organization rather than what's going on the field. They're not making a great look for themselves. They're not trying to move forward. And in my opinion, I think they should move on and maybe sell the team, because right now what all they're doing is just not going in the right direction. And not to mention, you have different players that's coming out that's actually leaving the organization, and that they have their dislikes about it because it's not ran the proper way. And also the different opportunities, it's not, you don't spill the thing of like everybody's a family there. It's mostly like we just talk about dysfunction.
And speaking of one of those players, Terry McLaurin, probably their best and only playmaker, he's sitting out of mandatory camp. We all know what that means. He wants to get the big bucks. He sees Tyreek, he sees Devontae, all these big players, and then of course Cooper Kupp getting big contracts. And he's a very talented young player. But Jeremiah, like, with him sitting out, like, this is a big deal because it hasn't been a good week for this organization at all.
No, it hasn't. We can talk about certain months. They have so much potential, especially with I had them as my wild card team last year. It's not like they're a terrible team, but they have so many things that's going on outside that distracts from everything.
Yep.
They can't keep a head on straight if you don't have your front office in straight. Right. So where are we going? And that's why I always talk about direction.
I agree. I think also I saw an article. I was researching when I was taking my notes on this topic. I saw an article a few months ago talking about how a lot of NFL owners do not like Snyder at all. Like, they want him gone. He needs to go because he's causing. There's been allegations that came out that are very serious allegations that people are still waiting to be addressed, and what's going to happen with that. Then of course we still have the John Gruden situation with all that, the emails being sent, all that stuff. There's a lot going on in that organization. And like you said, they have a lot of talented players. A few years ago, they were just actually 2 years ago, they were just in the wild card game battling with Tampa Bay. You know, a Tom Brady led Tampa Bay team with Taylor Heineke and a lot of those guys. They were, I mean, that was a good game. You know, even though they lost, but they battled. And it was like,
that's
okay,
what I'm saying. You go from that to now you have a new name, new costumes, and still dysfunction. You know, I'm just wondering, and that's my thing. I always say they had so many great players. They even have Young over there now.
Chase Young,
you know, you have to take advantage of these situations. You have to keep your key players, the ones that are loyal to you. You can't be disloyal to them. You can't not, have them to not trust you anymore. When you're a team, you got to make a family.
And also, another thing, they want to get a new stadium built in Virginia. They spent $100 million on land in Virginia to get the stadium built, but legislation put it on the table. It was tabled. They're going to revisit that conversation into the next year. I don't know what's going on. I mean, they changed names for the longest time, figuring out what they want the team. Then you have this going on with Del Rio. I think that's the biggest issue right now, because Del Rio, I believe he has to go. Like, you can't have, if you're trying to represent and you're trying to change a name of a franchise because it was offensive, and you keep someone who said offensive things, what message are you sending? And this is why Snyder does not, I don't know what his mindset is. He has to go.
Yeah, because now it's more defensive to a different race of people. So it's like,
exactly,
you can't keep on with this pattern.
Right.
Changing the name. That's just like a burglar. He can change the color of his ski mask, but he's still gonna rob at the end of the day. You gotta change the way that you do things.
I like that analogy. So we're definitely going to see what's going to happen with all this dysfunction, especially with Anthony Davis as well. I'm still keeping my radar on for him, but we're going to go to a short break. We're going to hear from our sponsors, Rent the Runway, the Smoke Shack, Falling from the Sky, and we'll be right back to talk about the Lightning advancing to their third straight Stanley Cup final. We'll be right back.
Renting is everything. It's style at your doorstep, off the runway and into your closet. It's every trend you've been dying to try and every designer you've yet to discover. It's wearing it your way every time and making it count everywhere you go. It's never worrying about what to wear, because something new is always coming your way. That's why renting is everything. New styles, top designers, all for a flat monthly fee. Start your subscription at renttherunway.com.
Slow roasted over hickory fire and pulled by hand. This is the way pit pork has always been done. Pulled pork lovers, rejoice. The smoky old days are back at the Smoke Shack. From the creative team that brought you the Browning Project and Dead by Morning comes a new thriller that will change the way you look at white-collar crime forever. Falling from the Sky.
You're watching Jasmine Pollock's First Impressions Sports Talk. Be sure to join Jasmine every week for great conversation on the NBA, NFL, and a wide variety of sports topics. To see past episodes of First Impressions Sports Talk, go to YouTube and search First Impressions Sports Talk. You can connect with Jasmine on LinkedIn by searching Jasmine Pollock. And now, back to more First Impressions Sports Talk.
First Impressions Sports Talk. And the voices you heard were from Deion Hunter and Kelly Johnson going over. And if you want to get voiceover work done, you can contact Leon on the leonthomasgroup.com to get voiceover work done. And if you want to be a guest on my show, you can go on Jasmine on Sports and you put your email and send any thoughts or questions that you have if you want to be on, and if you want to keep up with all my latest episodes. So Jeremiah, let's wrap this up. Let's talk about the final segment of the night, which I'm very excited about. I have my lightning earrings on. The Tampa Bay Lightning are moving on for the third straight time to their third NHL Stanley Cup final to face the Colorado Avalanche. How big is that? Like, how big is that?
Well, right then and there, you already got to put them in the history books. You had so many different teams, and no matter which sport, to be three-peating is, legendary status, legendary team. You think of, the three-peat Lakers, the Bulls, and not to mention any other sports that came along. It's a huge deal. It is not so easy, especially in hockey, to make it to 3 straight, Stanley Cups, and actually to win them. I got, of course, the Lightning winning, but at the same time, it's just a huge accomplishment. And this team right here, you could just see their dominance, and they're just on a different level from anybody else.
And I'm just getting started with hockey. For the past few years, I've been watching it and really trying to keep up with it. Even when the Lightning lost to the Blackhawks a few years ago, that's when I started, okay, let me sit down and actually see what hockey's about, because I see, the highlights of them fighting, like, oh, that's one of the only sports, if not the only sport, like that, to let them fight like that. So I was really interested. But going to your third straight final in any sport is a huge deal. It's very hard to get there. It's very hard to, first, you have to make the playoffs, have a good record to make the playoffs again, and have that same momentum you did the years prior. And then winning the finals and going through the finals the way, winning through the playoffs and getting to the finals the way they did. And it was a phenomenal ride that the Lightning just had. Just, can they get that energy back? That you've been winning for so long. Is it going to be, do you get lazy? Do you get like, oh, we saw it before, we felt it before? No, I'm seeing these guys go out there and still competing at a high level. Guys still won it. Like, the Lightning played this whole playoffs, and I watched every series that they played in this playoffs. They seem like they're the team that are just getting, like, they've never been to a finals. Like, it's phenomenal. Like, and even though they won it the past few years, it felt like a new team again, saying, oh, no, we didn't win it last year. We didn't win the year before. We're going to do it again. But, it's new to us. And it was phenomenal. And you could see in this last series against the Rangers, the heart of a champion. I saw guts. I saw grit. I saw lockdown defense. And I know the first 2 games we were getting tore up. I mean, like, literally, they had 9 goals. The Rangers had 9 goals in the first 2 games. Then games 3 through 6, we shut it down. We held them to 5 goals throughout that span, and that's phenomenal. And for us to go in that building, to go to New York in that Rangers arena, and it's a big arena, and play the way we did in that game 5 to get back home and win it all. That was phenomenal. So I'm really proud of our guys. But Jeremiah, heading on to the finals, the Stanley Cup finals, we're playing the Colorado Avalanche, they were the number 1 team in the Western Conference. So they're a pretty big deal too, and they're having a phenomenal season themselves. So what is your take? What should the Lightning do now in order to get to that third championship and win it? I think we lost Jeremiah, but I'll talk about it a little bit. When it comes to the last series that I saw with the Rangers, we start off slow. Of course, we had a 10-day break since we swept the Panthers, but I wanted to see how would the Lightning bounce back after being down 0-2 against a very, very good Rangers team. And they also have a great goalie in Igor, but like, I saw in game 3 a switch. I saw the intensity start to pick up. Of course, you're at home, the home crowd is in it and everything like that. And then, of course, you snap out of it. Come on, we're defending champs. We got to snap out of it. We have to get back to playing good hockey, going back to playing Lightning hockey the way I knew we could. And since that game 3, we picked up on defense, and we started making a lot of great plays that, kept us in the games, that kept us ahead. And I knew when we went on the road in game 5, I said before on my last show that the Lightning had to come out early swinging. They had to come out and strike first, and that's exactly what they did. And I wanted to see how the Rangers bounce back with striking, with us striking first. And literally, they couldn't do anything. The Rangers had no answers for the Lightning. And Stamkos, that guy, he is a veteran in this league, and he single-handedly in Game 6, he gave us that game. He played a phenomenal game, giving us those goals. And then, of course, Vasilevskiy, best goalie in the league, hands down.
Yeah, I mean, look at his length and his durability, especially. It's just like having that shot blocker that's right there. He just has like a certain presence that you don't even want to go inside. Their defense is very suffocating. I've seen it from when they played the Panthers, seen it when they played the Rangers. You can just see they swallow these teams up to make them more afraid to even try to go and score.
Yes. And defense wins championships. I mean, you have to, even the last few seconds, that last minute where Rangers had the and I was
because when it came to the Rangers,
and just for a team, like I said, who's been winning for so long, just for a team that's been winning for so long, it was so amazing to see a team still playing at a high level the way they are. Each and every player on the Lightning team, if they got subbed in, subbed out, each player came in and played with intensity. They played with heart, and that shows that the heart of the championship, the heart of a champion is a really big deal. And I was really proud to see our guys come out and do what they did. Like, I'm really excited, and just in the Tampa Bay area alone, being in this area, the Lightning have been the most consistent team for the past decade.
Yeah.
I mean, to be very honest with you, even though the Bucks, now you have Tom Brady, they won the championship, 2 years ago, Brady, when he first got there. But it's just the Tampa Bay Lightning have always been there. They've always been competing, been playoffs, always just now they're finally at that goal of winning Stanley Cup, as I know they can. But in this area, Tampa Bay Lightning are leading charge right now. They are.
Yeah, because I totally agree. Because when it comes to the Tampa Bay Lightning, you always seen when it comes to individual performances from Wayne Gretzky and everything else, from all the way back then, you had all the individuals. But let's talk about like just the team success. Yeah. Of a big player, that number one player that they can do this, but a whole team, doing that constantly. Let's give credit to the coach too. Yes. Going 3-peat and putting them like all into what they're trying to build on this team, putting that battery in their back, and actually, having that hunger for I can go again. Because a lot of teams, they will have a hangover to be like, oh, we'll come back. But Lightning, they just want it. They're just like, no, 1 is not enough, 2 is not enough, 3 is not enough. But I hope they say like 6 is not enough. They keep going.
And you saw the Rangers going up 2-0 on us. They were talking, the fans were talking like, oh, how does it feel to lose and be overrated? And people have to understand, like, you could be up on the best team in the world, and the best team in the world that's down, they're not phased. The Lightning weren't phased at all. Even in the press conferences, those guys were not phased. They were like, we won 2 rings. Literally, we won 2 Stanley Cups. We've been in these situations before. We're not worried. They went back home. They settled down. And just now we're heading on to our 3rd. So it was phenomenal to see. And a lot of teams, you have to pick up. That's literally, they have to pick up.
Yes.
And like you said number one players. There's no number one player on the Lightning. There's a bunch of number one players. There's not just one guy they depend on.
Any given Sunday, I love it. Yeah.
You have Vasilevskiy, you have Stamkos, you have Point, who's injured, but hopefully he comes back. Kucherov, Palat. You have a lot of guys that play at a high level that anybody can get a goal on the team. Anybody can go in there and create their own offense and score, and that's what puts pressure on these other teams. And you have to give credit to the coach, because coach, for him putting the game plan in, and it's the same game plan every year, and you have these players that come in and out, and just refreshed. It's phenomenal to watch.
Yeah, and still not even being number one too. Like they would be like in the rankings, they'll be maybe like 4 or 5 or maybe the 4th.
Lightning finished third.
Yeah,
Lightning finished third.
Lightning's the third. Mm-hmm.
And they're just not phased. Like, these guys are not worried when you've won it and you have that experience. Nothing. It's up to other teams level now to say, you know, we're taking you down now. You know, but that wraps up tonight's show. Hopefully, we're gonna see the Lightning get the dub. However, before we go, I do predict the Avalanche to win Game 1. I'm going to give them game one, but I think the Lightning are going to. I think the Lightning. There's some energy that I feel, and it's the same energy I felt the past 2 years. I just feel like the Lightning's too much. I feel like they're too much.
I maybe have them either winning game 2 or maybe like a game 4, like when it's like elimination time. Like, so they could just be like, okay, we survived by 1 point, hopefully. And then Lightning come out and then just like.
But this is a good Avalanche team. They're having a wonderful season, obviously. They made it this far, and they're with the number one team on the Western side. So, of course, it's a big deal. This is a big series. So we're going to see. I'm ready for the Lightning to get the 3-peat. I am hoping they get the 3-peat. That would be huge for the Tampa Bay area. But that wraps up tonight's show, Jeremiah. Thank you so much for constantly being on the show and constantly just, you know, giving your thoughts and input. Thank you, Jay, and happy birthday to Leon. That's a special birthday for Leon. Happy birthday to him.
Yes.
Thank you
and
to
check
the
out
audience.
your website.
Yes. Thank you for the audience for keeping up with me and for giving me so many ideas and keeping track of what I'm doing. But I will see you next year on Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern to talk more sports. There might be more stories to come that we're going to talk about. So we'll see you here next week on Jasmine's First Impression Sports Talk. Have a good night.